Adam Pearce stood there like he always does, clipboard tight, jaw clenched, pretending he's the last line between order and absolute chaos. But Paul Heyman looked at him like a man staring at a clock that already hit zero. Because when Paul Heyman says it's time to FAFO, he's not warning you, he's informing you. And if you think this was just another Heyman rant, another empty threat, another advocate speech meant to trend for 24 hours before disappearing, you weren't paying attention. Not to the tone, not to the timing, and definitely not to the calendar ticking relentlessly toward Royal Rumble 2026. Let me ask you something real quick, don't overthink it. Do you believe Adam Pearce is actually in control, or is he just the last guy standing before the explosion? Drop a control or delusional in the comments. I want to see where you stand, because what happened here wasn't loud, it wasn't violent, and that's exactly why it's terrifying. Paul Heyman didn't yell, he didn't posture, he didn't beg, he measured Pearce. Every word was deliberate, every pause was calculated, and every sentence carried the weight of a man who has watched empires fall from the inside. This is your moment to find out. That's what FAFO means when Paul Heyman says it. Not a threat, a countdown. And Royal Rumble 2026? That's not just a date anymore, it's a destination. Now here's where things get uncomfortable for WWE fans who still believe authority figures matter. Adam Pearce represents rules, process, structure, the illusion that chaos can be managed with fines, suspensions, and official reviews. He's the guy who steps between superstars and tells them, not tonight. Paul Heyman represents consequences. And there's a massive difference. Heyman has lived through locker room mutinies. He's orchestrated hostile takeovers. He's weaponized egos, factions, and fear itself. This is a man who doesn't just adapt to chaos, he creates it, then sells front row tickets. So when he tells Pearce, calm as a surgeon, that it's time to FAFO, what he's really saying is, you had your chance to stop this. Quick side question, be honest, if you were Adam Pearce in that moment, would you find Paul Heyman, or would you quietly start updating your resume? Find or resume in the comments. Because Pearce didn't clap back, he didn't threaten suspension, he didn't pull rank, he swallowed. And that silence, that hesitation, that microsecond where Adam Pearce realized he might already be too late, that's the crack in the dam. Let's talk about why Royal Rumble 2026 is the perfect pressure point. The Royal Rumble isn't just a match, it's a system shock. 30 variables, 30 egos, 30 potential disasters. Alliances form and collapse in seconds. Careers are made or erased in a single elimination. It's controlled chaos. And Paul Heyman thrives there. Every Royal Rumble moment that spiraled out of control in history, there's a Heyman philosophy behind it even when he wasn't officially involved. So when he ties FAFO to the Rumble, understand this. He's not planning a surprise. He's planning a chain reaction. And Adam Pearce? He's the fuse. Here's what should make you angry as a fan. Pearce thinks he can manage Heyman the same way he manages everyone else: rules, leverage, authority. But Heyman doesn't play on the board. He flips the table. And WWE keeps pretending this is fine. Let me throw this at you: should authority figures like Adam Pearce even exist in modern WWE, or do they just make chaos worse? Necessary or useless? Below. No fence sitting. Because look at the pattern. Every time Pearce handles a volatile situation, it escalates. Every time he asserts control, someone pushes harder. And now Paul Heyman is standing there basically saying, go ahead, try it again. That's not arrogance. That's confidence built on leverage we can't see yet. And that's where Royal Rumble 2026 becomes dangerous. Heyman doesn't need to announce a client. He doesn't need to reveal a master plan. All he needs is one thing to go wrong. One controversial entry number. One accidental elimination. One authority call that feels just a little too convenient. And suddenly the entire locker room is questioning Adam Pearce's legitimacy. That's FAFO. You don't find out all at once. You find out piece by piece as everything you thought was stable starts to wobble. Another quick one for you: what's more dangerous, Paul Heyman with a dominant client, or Paul Heyman with nothing to lose? Client or chaos in the comments. Now let's talk about the anger factor, because this is where fans should be furious. WWE loves to tell us things are under control, that security is ready, that management has learned from the past. But every single time someone like Heyman enters the picture, that promise falls apart. And instead of acknowledging it, they double down on the same authority structures that keep failing. Adam Pearce isn't a villain. That's the problem. He's a placeholder. A man trying to enforce order in a world that only respects power. Paul Heyman knows this. That's why he didn't scream. That's why he didn't threaten violence. He threatened relevance. Because if Pearce loses control of Royal Rumble 2026 even slightly, he becomes obsolete. And Heyman? He becomes inevitable. Let's rewind to that moment again. Heyman leans in, low voice. No cameras shoved in his face. No dramatic gestures. Just it's time to FAFO. That's not aimed at Pearce alone. That's aimed at every superstar who's tired of waiting their turn, every faction that feels overlooked, every wild card who knows the Rumble is their one night to flip the hierarchy. Heyman isn't building a client, he's building permission, and once permission exists, you don't get to take it back. Quick check-in: do you think Royal Rumble 2026 ends clean, or does it collapse into controversy? Clean or controversy? Because here's the cold truth. If Royal Rumble 2026 goes off without a hitch, Adam Pearce wins. If it doesn't, if there's confusion, chaos, disputed eliminations, backstage fallout, Paul Heyman wins without throwing a single punch. That's why this is brilliant. And that's why it should scare you. This isn't about one match. This is about who really runs WWE when things go wrong. And history says it's never the guy with the clipboard. Let's push this further. What happens if Pearce overcorrects? More security, tighter rules, heavier oversight. That only creates more tension. What happens if he underreacts? Heyman's influence spreads unchecked. Either way, Pearce is trapped. FAFO isn't a threat because of what happens next. It's a threat because of what has to happen next. Royal Rumble 2026 will test every weak point in WWE's structure. And Paul Heyman has already placed his bet on the outcome. Last question: answer honestly, when Royal Rumble 2026 ends, whose name do you think people will be talking about more? Adam Pearce or Paul Heyman? Pearce or Heyman? Because no matter how this plays out, one thing is already clear. Paul Heyman didn't ask for permission. He didn't seek approval. He didn't wait for the right moment. He decided the moment. And Adam Pearce? He's about to find out what FAFO really means: live, unscripted, and in front of the entire world. Stay loud, stay angry, and remember, chaos doesn't knock. It just shows up. Good, because this is where things stop being theory and start feeling personal. Royal Rumble 2026 doesn't implode with a single moment. It unravels, slowly, deliberately, like someone tugging at loose threads while management pretends not to notice. And that's exactly how Paul Heyman likes it. See, everyone expects chaos to be loud. A riot, a brawl, a shocking betrayal that trends instantly. But the most dangerous chaos? It's quiet, it's procedural. It's the kind that lets Adam Pearce sign off on decisions that look fine on paper and catastrophic in hindsight. Picture this. The Rumble is underway. Early entrance. Energy high. Commentary selling hope. Fans already fantasy booking the winner in their heads. Everything feels normal. Too normal. Because Heyman doesn't strike at the peak. He strikes when people relax. Let me ask you something right now. Do you prefer Rumbles that start hot, or ones that burn slow and explode late? Hot or slow burn in the comments. Because a slow burn is where mistakes multiply. Entry numbers start to feel convenient. Timing feels off by seconds. Eliminations happen near officials instead of the hard cam. And Adam Pearce? He's backstage, watching monitors, trusting the system. That's FAFO in real time. Because what happens when a controversial elimination occurs and the replay angle isn't clear? Pearce has two options. Overrule it and look biased. Let it stand and look incompetent. Either choice fractures trust. And Paul Heyman? He doesn't need to be ringside. He just needs people arguing. Fans arguing with fans. Superstars arguing with officials. Commentators talking in circles trying to justify something that feels wrong. That's when the Rumble stops being about who wins, and starts being about whether the result even matters. Here's where the anger should hit you as a viewer. WWE loves to say the Royal Rumble winner earns their shot fair and square. But what if the square is crooked? What if the fairness depends entirely on an authority figure who's already been warned and ignored it? Paul Heyman doesn't need to rig the match. He just needs Adam Pearce to believe he's in control. Another quick one: if a Rumble finish feels wrong, do you blame the winner or the authority figure who allowed it? Winner or authority? Because that blame, that narrative, that's the real prize. Now let's talk about the locker room, because this is where things really spiral. Superstars watch the Rumble like hawks. Every call sets precedent. Every non-call sends a message. And when they sense inconsistency, they don't rebel immediately. They remember. They bring it up weeks later in promos. They question decisions in interviews. They start framing losses as politics instead of performance. And that's when Paul Heyman steps back into the picture, not as an instigator, as a validator. He listens. He nods. He plants phrases. You're not crazy. You saw it too. This isn't about you, it's about control. That's FAFO long term. Because Adam Pearce's authority doesn't collapse in one night. It erodes. And Royal Rumble 2026 is the first visible crack. Let's push this to the breaking point. Imagine the final four. The crowd is split. Everyone has a favorite. Stakes are sky high. And then something happens. A distraction. A miscommunication. An elimination that looks legal from one angle and illegal from another. The bell rings. A winner is declared. But the crowd doesn't explode, they hesitate. That hesitation is death. Because uncertainty spreads faster than outrage. And once fans start arguing over legitimacy, the magic is gone. Adam Pearce comes out later, issues a statement, promises a review, and Paul Heyman, he smiles. Because FAFO doesn't mean instant destruction. It means you touched the stove and now the burn is setting in. Quick check: would you rather WWE admit a mistake, or double down and move on? Admit or double down, neither answer saves Pearce. Admitting weakness invites challenge. Doubling down invites rebellion. That's the trap. And Heyman built it with nothing but words and timing. Let's be brutally honest. Adam Pearce isn't stupid. He knows the Rumble is volatile. He knows Heyman's history. But he also knows WWE hates uncertainty. They hate rewriting outcomes. They hate looking unprepared. So he'll choose the path of least resistance. And that path leads straight through FAFO territory. Now here's where Ring Rumble fans should really start sharing this video, because this part isn't comfortable. What if Paul Heyman doesn't want the Rumble winner? What if his goal isn't WrestleMania, but restructuring power? Think about it. If the Rumble winner is disputed, WrestleMania plans wobble. Creative meetings turn hostile. Talent politics intensify. Authority figures scramble. And suddenly, someone like Heyman becomes valuable again, not as a mouthpiece, but as a fixer. That's the ultimate irony. The man who warned you becomes the man you need. Let me ask you straight, is Paul Heyman more dangerous as an outsider, or as someone management secretly relies on? Outsider or insider? Because history says the second option is nuclear. By the time WWE realizes what's happening, it's too late to roll things back. The narrative is already out there. Fans already picked sides. Superstars already feel wronged. And Adam Pearce? He's standing in front of the wreckage with a clipboard full of explanations no one wants. FAFO complete. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. This isn't just about Pearce. This is about WWE's obsession with control in an era that thrives on chaos. You can't micromanage moments like the Royal Rumble. You can't spreadsheet unpredictability. And you definitely can't outmaneuver Paul Heyman by pretending he's just another manager. He's not playing chess. He's playing perception. Final question, and this one matters. When Royal Rumble 2026 is remembered 5 years from now, do you think it'll be remembered for the winner or for the controversy? Winner or controversy? Because if it's the second one, Paul Heyman already won. Adam Pearce was warned. The clock was visible. And FAFO wasn't a threat, it was a timeline.